Good morning to everyone that has joined us on this special day, November 4, 2020, for the public launch of the Jamaica Investment Map. My name is Othniel Hemans, Project Manager, Strategic Public Sector Transformation and the Jamaica Investment Map, here at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. We are here today to commemorate a milestone in a journey that officially began just under 2 years ago in December 2018, with the signing of an expression of interest on the part of the government of Jamaica to participate in this initiative, following an IDB Community of Practice public event held in April of that year in Panama. Fast track to December 2019, which marked another significant occasion where the licensing agreement between the government and the IDB was signed at an internal launch. And then on to today's event, where the platform is at a stage where it can be shared with the public and the realization of its true purpose can commence. I will not go into the benefits of the platform nor the underlying thinking behind such an initiative at this time, as the more than able presenters are fully capable of executing that task. What falls to me at this time is to extend to you all a very, very warm welcome. We are grateful for your presence and the representation from a wide cross-section of society. We are grateful that both non-state and state entities have joined us for this launch. But first and foremost, I want to recognize those participants who are not representing a particular entity, but who are civic-minded individuals that were informed by some means of communication about this launch and deemed it important enough to attend. We hope your interest and participation will only grow at the end of this launch, when more information about what we aim to do here has interacted with your senses. We have representatives from civil society, faith-based organizations, from academia, our partners in the media, as well as business interests. I would also like to recognize the representation from our government entities, the heads of agencies that have joined us, and other staff members. I want to note the presence of our project managers within the central government, who play an important role in making this initiative a success. Welcome, and thank you for being here. As we move directly into the flow of this launch, it is my pleasure to welcome the persons on the agenda who will be actively delivering relevant information to our audience. These persons have provided the necessary leadership at the local and/or international level in respect of policy, strategy, and technical work around the investment map and the ideals that it attempts to facilitate. We have a relatively concise agenda with opening remarks by two powerful women that have dedicated their lives to service. The Financial Secretary of the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, Ms. Darlene Morrison, who is the technical and administrative head, a woman who, from experience, knows what is important to running a successful ministry, and saw early the value of this initiative. The second speaker, Mrs. Therese Turner-Jones, General Manager, Caribbean Country Department, Inter-American Development Bank, a dynamic and innovative thinker under whose leadership this initiative and initiatives such as this has taken root in Jamaica and the Caribbean and is causing somewhat of a paradigm shift. Our own minister, the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Nigel Clark, who has been excited about this initiative from the very beginning and spoke to it in his budget presentation earlier this year, will deliver his address. The importance of his support cannot be overstated. A demonstration of the platform will follow, including brief remarks from yours truly, after which we have the keynote address from Juan Pablo Guerrero, Network Director, Global Initiative for Fiscal Transparency. He has given much of his life to the development agenda and can provide a good international perspective on the work being attempted. Finally, Mrs. Loris Jarrett, Deputy Financial Secretary, Public Expenditure Division, and process owner of the budget and this platform, it being an initiative of budget transparency, will deliver closing remarks. She has been a linchpin of this entire enterprise and is no doubt pleased about this particular milestone. Short biographies are available on all our speakers for your perusal. We hope for a seamless flow of the agenda as we proceed to our first speaker, Ms. Darlene Morrison.
Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and Public Service, Mrs. Therese Turner-Jones, General Manager, Caribbean Country Department to the Inter-American Development Bank, Mr. Juan Pablo Guerrero, Director, Global Initiative for Fiscal Transparency, Mrs. Loris Jarrett, Deputy Financial Secretary, Public Expenditure Division, Mr. Othniel Hemans, Project Manager, Strategic Public Sector Transformation Project. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the launch of the Jamaica Investment Map, an information management platform that visualizes, maps, stores, and makes publicly available information on public investment projects being implemented by the government of Jamaica. We are pleased to join with the IDB in this launch of this platform, which has been made available to the government of Jamaica by the Inter-American Development Bank through a non-reimbursable regional technical cooperation grant titled Innovations to Improve the Transparency and Efficiency of Public Investment Systems. The initiative by the IDB has served to support the government of Jamaica in the steps being taken to strengthen the management of public investments in Jamaica. To date, the government of Jamaica has implemented reforms in several areas of the system, including the process by which public investments are selected for funding and implementation. This process is now enshrined in the Financial Administration and Audit Act and requires rigorous appraisal, including early screening of all public investment concepts and proposals in order to determine their feasibility and viability and alignment with national objectives before resources are approved for implementation. This has resulted in improved decision-making and the prioritization of projects which contribute more directly to national development objectives. Other initiatives are being put in place to improve project implementation, project monitoring, and project evaluation. In this regard, InvestmentMap Jamaica has come at an opportune time and will provide valuable support to our project analysts in the Ministry of Finance and Public Service in their monitoring and reporting on the financial and physical status of the public investment projects under implementation. Jamaica Investment Map has added an innovative feature to the public investment management system by creating an avenue for citizens' participation in monitoring and reporting on the public investment projects being implemented in their towns, parishes, and counties. It allows them to upload feedback by way of comments and pictures. This is an important step for us in the Ministry of Finance and Public Service, and we have great expectations that Jamaica Investment Map will be accepted and extensively utilized by the public at large, and that it will contribute significantly to the general efforts being made to improve transparency and accountability in the use of public resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Morrison, and we'll move right into the presentation from Ms. Therese Turner-Jones.
Thank you very much, Otniel. Welcome everyone, and good morning again to especially to Dr. Clark and the FS and our special guest speaker. Also want to welcome all the other government officials who are here, and we have up to now 160 participants and also members of the media, I think, included in that. So I also want to thank Minister Clark for tweeting in advance of this event so that we got even more interest in it. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the presentation by Guerrero shortly. In 2018, the Caribbean Department, The Economist, produced a book on institutions in the Caribbean, which highlighted, among other things, very clearly the link between openness and transparency of governments on the one hand, and people's trust in institutions on the other. The study shows that increasing openness and transparency strengthens people's trust in democracy and in the state. This in turn can help fill that significant gap in trust that affects many and several countries across our region, including in the Caribbean. This is one of the main reasons why over the last few years, we at the IDB have been stepping up our support to the transparency agenda in the Caribbean. Between the end of the 1990s and the early 2000s, countries across the world were swept by the first wave of transparency reforms. These reforms focused mainly on establishing people's rights to access public information. This was a step towards citizens reclaiming a more central role in government. In the Latin American and Caribbean region alone, 16 countries approved access to information laws between 2000 and 2008, and Jamaica is one of those. However, the 2008 financial crisis, as well as a series of high-profile corruption scandals in the last decade, made it painfully clear that granting access to public information is not sufficient to generate true accountability. An expectation has emerged for the state to proactively make information available to citizens in a format that is easy to access as well as to understand. This is the second wave of transparency and open government reforms, which has been enabled by the appearance of innovative digital tools such as InvestmentMap. InvestmentMap fits precisely that pattern. Its purpose is to make information on public investment projects available in a most user-friendly way, make it easy to access and in a navigable format to the broadest possible audience. And I'm really hoping that every citizen of Jamaica at some point logs on to the map and uses this information to increase their awareness of what their government is doing on the public investment side. InvestmentMap is one of the IDB's signature transparency initiatives. It started with a project in Colombia aimed at tracking the use of royalties from the extractives sector. It received a boost after the 2008 financial crisis, as I mentioned earlier, as governments in the region came under great pressure to show that increased public spending was matched by a commitment to transparent use of resources. We currently have 6 InvestmentMap platforms functioning across the region in Argentina, Colombia, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, Paraguay, and Peru. We're very pleased, and I'm especially proud to officially welcome today Jamaica as the 7th country to the fold, and in particular, the first country in the English-speaking Caribbean to join the initiative. InvestmentMap provides for transparency of public investment and allows citizens to monitor projects, as we just heard the FS describe, as well as provide feedback. It's interface has been designed in partnership with the MIT digital team to maximize usability and provide a menu of options for data visualization. I want to say a couple of things about the national integrity system as we see it. Now, let me state right away that we understand quite clearly that transparency is only one element in the accountability loop. Transparency International often refers to a national integrity system as a set of institutions, laws, regulations, and tools that foster transparency and counter corruption in any given country. A national integrity system is often visualized as a temple held upright by several columns. Remove one column and the system collapses. Transparency is but one such column. To close the loop, a country also needs laws and institutions that can hold its public officials to account. In Jamaica, these include the Integrity Commission, the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, the Financial Investigations Division, and the Auditor General's Department, among others. This administration has made it a clear and very high priority, especially in its new mandate, to support these institutions and to ensure that public officials are held to account. From that perspective, we agree with the Jamaican government in seeing InvestmentMap as a part of a broader strategy that prioritizes transparency and accountability. And I must say, our current Minister of Finance is very much on board with these ideas. Civil society has a role in this as well. One of the other columns of the integrity system is represented by the free press and civil society organizations. These play a critical independent role of government oversight and helps close the accountability loop. These organizations are the primary users of InvestmentMap, and I hope that these organizations will use it to draw awareness as to what Jamaica's public investment program is about and how the expenditure is actually reaching the target audiences. Prior to today's launch, the Ministry of Finance and our team held awareness raising sessions with civil society to brief them on the platform and its use. I'm pleased that the platform has been well received and there is enthusiasm among stakeholders to start using it and to help us improve it. As we make the link to the website available today, we encourage all stakeholders to explore the site and provide your feedback and ideas for improvement. Along with the Ministry of Finance, we commit to maintaining an open dialogue with key stakeholders as part of an effort to continuously improve the platform. I must underscore that this is a live tool and one that thrives on our valued partnership. Transparency fuels not only accountability, but also efficiency of government spending. And so we're always careful to highlight that link. Consider this, a recent study from the InvestmentMap platform in Costa Rica shows that this tool can help accelerate the financial progress of projects by 18% and the physical progress by some 8%. These aren't trivial numbers. These are very important numbers to think about. While we are still studying the link between transparency and efficiency, we understand that public oversight is an incentive for project managers, public officials, and contractors to step up their performance. We know from a major study in Peru, for example, that when information is made public and combined with incentives such as random audits, this can reduce cost overruns of public works by up to 50%. This is encouraging. Imagine if we could accomplish similar savings in other countries around our region, including Jamaica. This is, of course, hugely relevant at this delicate time as Jamaica, along with all governments around the globe, is under enormous pressure to ensure that every cent of public resources is spent in the best interest of its citizens. Again, this points to the relevance of this tool, and we commend the government of Jamaica for this important step. In closing, I wish to really thank all of the staff of the Ministry of Finance, and in particular the Minister of Finance involved in this project for the partnership that it took to complete the signature project. We're also extremely proud that it is occurring in our 50th anniversary year. Minister Clark, I want to remind you that we had a really great time last December celebrating our 50th anniversary, and the year is not over yet. So unfortunately, we're in this weird world where we can't really celebrate face to face, but we're still actually celebrating. This is another of those cases of the IDB and the government of Jamaica working successfully hand in hand for a long time, in this case, several months, including through this pandemic. The fact that we were able to complete this project during these challenging times speaks of the resilience of both the Jamaican government and its people, as well as our IDB team, and of our commitment to work together to improve lives. Again, let me congratulate Jamaica for once again leading its Caribbean peers with this important initiative. We look forward to seeing InvestmentMap functioning and growing with your continued involvement and valued support. Thank you so much, everyone.
And we thank Mrs. Turner-Jones for those very insightful and timely comments. And indeed, this is a time for celebration. We'll move directly to our Minister of Finance for his address.
Thank you very much, Othniel. Oh, am I unmuted? Yes. Thank you very much, Othniel, for your warm welcome. And let me just use the opportunity to acknowledge the Financial Secretary, as well as the General Manager of the IDB for the Caribbean, Therese Turner-Jones, as well as our guest speaker, Juan Guerrero. And to welcome all of you for joining us for this launch of the Public Investment Map. Normally, when we launch initiatives or make major policy announcements, we usually assemble in the conference room of the Ministry of Finance, which incidentally holds far fewer people than have been able to join this virtual launch. So I think FS, we're going to have to consider transitioning or incorporating this feature even in our in-person launches in the future. I'm very happy to see the wide participation in today's launch. I want to just begin with an acknowledgement, and we are very proud of the fact that Jamaica is the first country in the English-speaking Caribbean, and I believe the sixth country in all of Latin America to be making this bold reform of having a public investment map. But we couldn't do this without the help of the IDB. As you've heard from the FS and from Therese, that this was born out of dialogue with the Inter-American Development Bank. But we must also acknowledge that the project would have been funded out of the Transparency Fund at the IDB, to which the donors are the governments of Canada, the governments of Norway, as well as the IDB itself, and I believe MasterCard. And I want to just acknowledge those contributors to the Transparency Fund that has been used to finance Jamaica's reform in this area. Now, as Othniel mentioned, this reform is a part of the Strategic Public Sector Transformation Initiative. And many times we ask, about public sector transformation, we say, hey, what's going on with that? I haven't heard anything. Well, public sector transformation is just like this, reform after reform, one step at a time, moving the needle and improving the quality of services that are offered. Public sector transformation over the last 4 years, we've had over 20 mergers and integration of public bodies into their parent ministries. We've had 13 closures of public bodies and over 5 divestment of public enterprises. This particular initiative falls under the public sector transformation that seeks to make the budget more relevant to the Jamaican people by involving citizens in the budget process. And we have been engaged over the past few years with the production of a citizen's guide to the budget, where the complicated budget document is simplified into using layman's language and everyday terms, with a lot of graphs and tables, and included as a supplement in the national newspapers, so that everybody has access to the government's plans for financing. And these finances are your finances. They originate with your tax dollars. The public investment map, we are going one step further. And what we're doing is we're providing not only the plans that the government has for expenditure for a particular year, but making available the budget execution for persons and citizens to be able to access on a real-time basis. Now, we have engaged in a number of public financial management reforms over the past few years, which would have included the implementation of a public investment management system and a public investment management secretariat, which has streamlined the public investment process greatly. We now have published in the fiscal policy paper on an annual basis a schedule of approved public investments, not only for the current year, but for the years that follow. And that allows for good planning for those projects, and it ensures that the required analysis is done to ensure that those projects are indeed worthy of being financed, and that they have the benefits to the people and fit within the strategic direction of the government of Jamaica. Things were not always that way, but through public sector transformation, we've been able to move the ball forward. So now what we are launching today moves the ball even further forward, and I'm very proud of it and proud of all who have worked on it. I know that the team in the Strategic Public Sector Transformation Project have worked very well and have worked very hard rather, and have been very enthusiastic about the project. Othniel is correct in saying that, I have been a huge proponent of this, and have, would have wanted it to have been launched earlier. And indeed, I spoke about it in my budget presentation earlier this year. Public investment is the route by which we improve the quality of life of the Jamaican people. When we spend on recurrent expenditure, that's expenditure that's spent now, and the benefit is now. The benefit accrues in the time that the money is spent. When you spend on public investment, the benefit accrues over the life, the natural life of that particular public investment. When you build a bridge or a road, the benefit is not just for today. It is for the next month, the next year, the next decade. When you invest in technology through public investment, the benefit lasts over time. And that's why public investment is so important and such a crucial component of the budget. Over the last several decades, Jamaica has lagged behind in the proportion of our annual budget that we allocate towards public investment. There was a time when public investment would have been 1% of GDP or 1.5% of GDP. We were very proud to raise the level of public investment over the last 4 years to approximately 3.2% of GDP, doubling public investment from $30 billion in 2015-16 to approximately $72 billion in 2019-20. Unfortunately, the pandemic has affected our public investment schedule, and we have had to, in the first supplementary estimate, we had to pull back on public investments quite significantly. But in our second supplementary estimate, we increased our public investment by $4.6 billion, because it's a belief of this government that it's through public investment that we improve the quality of life of the Jamaican people, as the benefits of public investment accrue every month, every week, every year going forward. Now, public trust is a very important commodity. And the greater the level of public trust in the society is, the more risk a government can take to improve the quality of life of citizens. Public trust comes from a number of pillars, and Therese would have mentioned some of the institutions that are necessary to engender, increase, improve public trust. The tool that we launched today is a critical component in this exercise, because it brings the full light of transparency on the budget execution process. It's one thing to have a budget and to say that you're going to spend X in a particular area and not to say anything about it for the next 12 months until the year is finished. Through this exercise, what we'll be launching today will make available for the public all of the public investments, or as many as we can upload. And I believe we're starting with 70 projects financed by the governments, financed by multilaterals, just from across the board. And that will allow for a continuous review and interrogation of the progress of our public investment plans throughout the budgetary year. The public investment map will be geo-referenced, and citizens, policymakers, project managers will be able to search by county, by parish, by sector. You'll be able to see the amounts that have been budgeted, the amounts that have been spent. You'll be able to track the financial progress of the project. You'll be able to track the physical progress of the project as photographs will be uploaded and other information. You'll be able to see what the project was intended to accomplish. You'll be able to see the private sector partner, the contractor in some cases, who is responsible for the execution. And most importantly, you will be able to engage by uploading citizens' comments. So you'll be able to comment, and I sure hope we have a good deal of comments. You'll be able to compliment, and I definitely hope we have a lot of compliments. And you'll also be able to complain and upload your own photographs of what is taking place. Now, when this happens, this benefits all of society. What gets measured gets done. When the policymaker, when the civil servant, when the contractor is aware that the product of their work is available for continuous, ongoing review and interrogation, there is a greater incentive to ensure that projects are implemented efficiently. It will be available in real time what any cost overruns are, if there are cost overruns. And by making this information not only available, because some of this information would have been available, but what we're doing through the public investment map is making the information not just available, but making it accessible, and making it accessible in real time. Now, the range of benefits are numerous. The persons, the ministers of government, people in the political directorate, who often are at the mercy of those who are implementing, who get blamed for implementation that doesn't go, according to schedule, and sometimes are not culpable at all. The minister, the political directorate, can in real time observe the progress of projects and use that information in the performance of his or her duties. The project managers responsible can also observe the progress of their projects. The project manager might have projects all across Jamaica. A particular ministry might have projects in different parts of Jamaica. You'll be able to sit in one place and see how those projects are being executed. And it will also, as I mentioned before, benefit the citizen. So this is Jamaica living up to its commitment to continue to reform our bureaucracy, continue to reform our public sector, and in doing so, to make information available to the Jamaican people, and in particular, financial information, on the principle that the government spends your money. And if the government spends your money, the government needs to be accountable to you, the people of Jamaica, for how your resources are being used. And we sincerely hope that this public investment map will be used, not abused, but used by policymaker, by project manager, by citizen, by civil society, and out of it, we'll be able to improve the efficiency and the timely execution of our public investment projects. And by virtue of doing so, and by virtue of improving the public trust that comes with transparency, and transparency is not only being transparent about things that are going well, transparency is being transparent as well about things that may not be going so well. This is life. No, there's no perfection. There's no perfection anywhere in life. And by definition, if you have a pipeline of projects, you have a spectrum of outcomes. Some will be excellent, right? Some will be good. Some will not meet the grade. But the important thing is that the people are aware, and they're aware in real time, because it allows for deficiencies to be addressed and for changes to be made going forward. And by doing so, what we hope is that public trust improves over time, and it allows governments to take more ambitious risks and steps in the interest of the Jamaican people. Because there's nothing that's ambitious that doesn't come without risk. But when the people know that we will be transparent about all that we do, then all that we do in their interest, then there's a much greater likelihood that the people will support government in taking prudent risk that is in their interest. So I just want to, again, acknowledge the IDB, acknowledge the governments of Norway and Canada, MasterCard, as well as all those who have worked on the project, acknowledging eGov, who will be maintaining we're responsible for the IT component of the project. And we can have the greatest ideas and plans. If it's not hosted properly, then it doesn't work. So we acknowledge them and look forward to the provision of good service there. And just to say that this is yet another example of the government reforming the public sector in the interest of the Jamaican people and institutionalizing greater levels of transparency. Thank you very much.
If we were doing applause at this time, the minister would be receiving a standing ovation. No one can deny the passion that came forth in that presentation. Thank you very much, Minister. Now, we are going to be presenting the demonstration of the platform so that persons understand the dynamics of the platform. And this is the official release of the URL. So persons are now able to access this platform to go on. Where persons will be able to, as I know, Google and go onto the platform and be able to do all the things that you will see possible in this short video.
What is InvestmentMap? The Jamaica Investment Map is an online platform that allows citizens to monitor public investments in Jamaica. The platform provides the financial details and physical progress of public projects in various industries across the island. The Investment Map will facilitate increased transparency and accountability of public investments in Jamaica. The Jamaica Investment Map platform has 5 pages. These are the home page, a page with information about the investment map, a page with information by county, a page with information by parish, and a page with information about individual projects. The home page has 3 panels. The first panel includes a search bar, which allows you to enter the name of a public investment project in order to retrieve specific information about that project. Also included are tabs about the investment map and how to use the platform. The second panel on the homepage allows for georeferencing, giving you 6 options for filtering. Below the filter options, you will have access to the entire list of projects. The georeferencing option allows you to select projects by parish or by county and to view the total approved value of those projects. The 6 filter options available to the left of the map allow for search by county, parish, project status, project sector, financing source, and the year the project began. The filter options can be used individually to provide the selected data or can be stacked to provide more detailed information. The list view at the bottom of the filter options provides not just the results of filters, but a list of ongoing projects in the database. You can also use this list to select and retrieve information on each project. The third panel of the homepage has 2 headings: counties and parishes with the largest number of projects and projects with national reach. You may search the database by sector, amount approved, start date, and financial progress. Over 50 projects are listed as having a national reach. This section shows details such as the level of investment by sector and government's concentration in spending. The About page provides background information on the investment map, the partners involved, the development process, and the cost of the project, as well as indicates how the performance of the platform will be measured and how citizens may participate on the platform. The pages showing information at the county level or parish level are similar in that you can arrive at these pages just by clicking on the relevant button. The county page provides information by county, including the total number of projects, their average cost, and their average duration. It also provides a project map and listing showing the status of projects and projects by sector. A useful graphic shows the sectoral distribution of all projects currently active in that county and highlights the main sector in that county. Similarly, the parish page has information by parish instead of by county. Information on individual projects can be accessed from any other page by project name. On the other pages, clicking on a project name will bring you to this page. The information on this page includes project name, sector classification, estimated cost, financial progress. General information on the project including start date, end date, and status. Project overview, specific objectives of the project, funding agencies, annual budget execution, physical progress including photos uploaded by the agency or by the citizen, and comments from the citizen on projects. Citizens are encouraged to get involved by becoming aware of what is happening on the different projects and, where possible, capturing images of the activities on the project for upload. Citizens are also encouraged to leave comments on projects by creating an account and then submitting comments via that account. Users may also generate PDF reports for specific projects. This is done by pressing a button on the project page labeled Download PDF. The report provides the details on the project in a printable format.
Excellent. I hope that This demonstration of the platform, as well as all the information that has been received from previous speakers, has sufficiently whet the appetite of all gathered here, so that after leaving this session, or even right now, persons will begin to explore the tool. But I want to emphasize just a few things before we take our next speaker. This is the first version of the platform. As the minister said, and as Ms. Turner Jones would have indicated, there is continuous improvement that can take place. Work is currently ongoing at the moment to include projects that are financed through public bodies, as right now what is provided are projects that are financed via the central government with support from our development partners. We have had sensitization sessions, and we are taking on all the suggestions with the intention of bringing them on in a phased basis. Currently, the platform is supported, the information that is shown on the platform is supported by our projects database. And it is the project managers who now have a level of responsibility, a high level of responsibility, to ensure that the information is continuously updated and to ensure that it is kept current. This database was funded in part by the World Bank, and we will be moving to a more robust platform in the form of what we call the PIMIS, the Public Investment Management Information System, that will allow us to do more creative things with the data, such as reflect the information that is provided by constituency. This higher level information platform is also funded by the World Bank. Now, we want to quickly move on to our other speaker, Juan Pablo Guerrero, who will be presenting information on this initiative from an international perspective. Juan Pablo.
Thank you. And congratulations to the Jamaican people for this very important step forward, transparency and accountability in your country. I am very pleased to be part of this welcoming and launching of the investment map in your country. And I salute with respect Darlene Morrison, Financial Secretary, Ms. Therese Turner Jones, the representative of the IDB, and Honorable Nigel Clark, the Minister of Finance and Public Service. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to share with you the results of a broad measure of budget openness in Jamaica from an international perspective. This will allow me to talk particularly about some of the challenges that the International Budget Partnership identify on the state of transparency, fiscal transparency in your country, some of the opportunities, and I will finish with some words about the importance of, as been said, not only publishing financial information, but to make sure that it is published in a way that is actually used. What we say is that fiscal transparency that is not used is useless. The GIFT network that I lead, the Global Initiative for Fiscal Transparency, is composed by several stakeholders, international financial institutions, governments, and we are based in a civil society organization that works on budget transparency, the International Budget Partnership. I was asked by the IBP to represent them, and I'm very glad to have this opportunity. I'm going to start talking about the open budget survey results, then assess the opportunities and challenges for your country to improve on your transparency scores, and then I'm going to talk about the role of public participation in PFM. It is clear, and it has been mentioned, that budgets are crucial to make sure that policy actually reach their goals. Governments always propose to their population particular objectives, and these need to be nurtured with public resources. That's one very important consideration. We also know that openness in budgets are crucial to improve service delivery, among others. And this year, with the pandemic, we have seen that governments have devoted very important financial resources to address these economic fallouts and health challenges. Now, it's been said, and this is something that I was very pleased to hear from the Minister himself, that transparency helps earning public trust to governments, especially during a crisis. The open budget surveys, it's an evidence-based assessment of how public resources are raised and spent. It also addresses how opportunities for participation in the budget process governments provide, and it also looks at the power of oversight by independent legislatures and audit institutions. It actually looks at the accountability ecosystem of the users of public resources. It is based on a questionnaire completed in each country by an independent researcher. There is an autonomous review by another researcher. And finally, governments have the opportunity to provide comments, and all of this is made public. It includes 117 countries, and most of governments respond to this opportunity to comment and sometimes correct some of the answers provided by the researchers. Only documents published and events, activities, or developments that took place through December 31st in 2018 were assessed in 2019 open budget survey. And let me take the opportunity to stress out that for the next round of the survey, whatever is published this year, 2020, is going to be taken into account. So we still have time for the Ministry of Finance to move on publishing and releasing information in order to improve its score on the open budget survey. As said, the OBI examines budget transparency through the 8 key documents that should be produced and published through the budget cycle. And here they are. You can broadly see the main phases of the budget cycle. And there you have the 8 documents. We can see that basically 3 of them regard the formulation phase. Then there is one, the enacted budget, that takes into account the approval phase, and very important documents. And actually the most important part of the survey regards the execution phase of the budget cycle, with the in-year report, the year-end report, and the mid-year report. And then you have the audit report. With those, you have the 8 documents that the survey is looking at. Now, what IBP has found is that there has been an improvement on budget transparency throughout the years, but the information that is made available for the public is still insufficient. The average global score of the 117 countries is 45, and for Latin America and the Caribbean, we found that it's 51 out of 100, still below the mark that we look for, and that is 61 points out of 100, where we consider that sufficient information is being published. By the way, only 6 countries have more than 80 points, which is, of course, where we would like Jamaica to be soon. These countries include New Zealand, Australia, Sweden, but also South Africa, Mexico, and Brazil. What I'm trying to say here is that you don't have to be a developed country, you don't have to be a rich country to be transparent. In Latin America, the region scores a little bit better than other regions, and we have 5 countries that provide sufficient information for the citizens to know how public resources are used. Here, what needs to be kept in mind is that out of the 144 documents that should be published in Latin America, 30% are either published late or not published. So although 71% is available, we still have in the region a significant challenge on transparency. Now, if we look particularly to the results for Jamaica, we can see that 6 key documents were available in 2018 and were made public in a timely manner. Now, the citizens' budget was not produced then, but I was very pleased to know that it is now a work in progress, that you're gonna have an accessible version of the citizens' budget for Jamaican people, and that will make, no doubt, improve your score. But let's put aside the score. Really, what is important is that you are aligning a set of initiatives to improve not only transparency, but to make it very accessible to taxpayers, to the owners of the money, that is your people. On the pre-budget statement, we've seen that it is produced, but it's not published. And here you still have the challenge to provide this information to the public. As said, the open budget survey measures how the central government spends its resources. We can see here that Jamaica has still a significant challenge ahead to improve its budget. I won't spend much time on this chart. It illustrates the regional trends in budget transparency. And again, we can see that Latin America has been improving throughout the years. This is one of the regions in which we can see results that are moving uphill, although again, there's still many cases in which countries see their scores diminish from one year to another. Let me talk about some countries that make efforts that really make them outstanding because they've been able, with a very clear and targeted policy, to advance in in budget openness in few years. The Kyrgyz Republic, Ukraine, Guatemala, and Indonesia are shown here. In all cases, you had a very strong leadership in the Ministry of Finance with a very explicit goal to improve. It needs coordination, it needs better financial public records, better internal coordination, and a specific unit in charge of transparency. In all of these cases, countries were able to advance to provide sufficient information. Another very important factor is to include relevant stakeholders in the effort, not only the Ministry of Finance and sometimes the highest leadership of the country, but also members of the parliament of the Budget Commission, for instance, and very importantly, the Supreme Audit Institutions. Now, what makes the difference really in the long term to make this effort sustainable is the role of the demand. We need strong civil society claiming and sometimes complaining if there is a reverse, if some documents are missing, are not timely published, or are not clear enough. So all of these stakeholders are important, and in many occasions, a dialogue among them is crucial to improve the transparency agenda in a country. So again, congratulations, because I can see that this is clearly the trend in Jamaica. Now, on the opportunities that we see and the challenges, what I have shared in this slide is the questions out of the questionnaire where Jamaica gets not good notes, such as D's or C's. We can see that they refer either at the executive budget proposal, where some financial information is missing, some information on the details of the revenues, the contingent liabilities, information related to fiscal expenditures. Again, all of them, either information that used, because I'm sure it is, but not published, or information that maybe is published late or published in another area that is not linked to the specific budget, in this case, the executive budget proposal. This slide also shows what we were mentioning, the lack of publication of the citizens' budget. That is going to be taken care of, and this is very good news. And also the lack of publication of the pre-budget statement. Now, this takes IBP to provide the following recommendations. The first one, very clear, is to publish the pre-budget statement online in a timely manner. I know that this is something absolutely feasible. Produce and publish the citizens' budget. This is, we have a check here. This is taken care of. This is magnificent. Include the executive budget proposal, financial and policy information. This is something that we mentioned. Include in the year-end report performance and macroeconomic information and detail actual outcomes for expenditure. And finally, improve the comprehensiveness of the other audit report and enacted budget. The third finding, let me go back to the global perspective from IBP regarding their results, is how little opportunity there is for the citizens to be part of the budget process, what we call public participation in the budget cycle. There we can find that there is very little opportunity. I'm not talking here about many different ways in which governments have an interaction with the citizens. That I know happens. We're specifically talking about opportunities of the public to have a saying and engage in the way their money is used. So it's public participation in the budget cycle. There again, the results are very challenging. Only 2 countries score more than 60, and which is South Korea and the UK. And in most cases, the opportunities for citizen engagement in the budget process are skim. Here you have the results for Latin America. You can see that the best performing countries are Guatemala and Mexico, and Jamaica has 7 points out of 100 in this section. Now, the recommendations for your country from IBP are as much as possible to pilot mechanisms to engage the public during budget formulation and to monitor budget implementation, to actively engage with vulnerable and underrepresented communities, if not directly through civil society organizations. There are also recommendations for the House of Parliament where we know there are public hearings, but there could be more engagement, and also with the other, the Auditor General Department. Now, I'm finishing with a couple of slides that refer to the importance of public participation. Although we believe that public participation is a right as much as access to information or the right to know, we also think that public participation needs to become a very productive input for policy making. So it needs to be driven by a shared purpose with the nature and scope of the participation task clearly defined. We need to see a problem that can be solved through public participation. We need to make sure that the citizens' inputs will be used, that there is room for public influence over the decision, and we need to be aware of the constraints. If that is taken into account, then we see the benefits of public participation, which include better resource allocation. We have no doubt that we have evidence about this, and here we have a couple of examples from Mexico. We know for sure that the public services can be improved. We have examples from South Africa and Kenya. We also know that this gives an opportunity for a better response to the preferences of the beneficiaries of public services, with examples from Honduras and Mexico again. We know that the public participation allows us to hear to the voiceless, to the marginalized communities, to those who otherwise wouldn't have a chance to have a say in the policies that affect them. And we know also that public participation improves the impact of development. There is evidence that on health, on education, on community level public works, citizen engagement makes our goals to be more impactful. Thank you very much. We will be happy at IBP and GIFT to sit with you and look particularly at the areas of opportunity for you to continue improving in fiscal transparency. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of this morning's proceedings. On behalf of our Minister, Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clark, and Financial Secretary Darlene Morrison, it is my pleasure to express to you all the deep gratitude and appreciation of the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service for having made time in your busy schedules to share with us in this groundbreaking event, the launch of Jamaica Investment Map, and for making publicly available, which will make publicly available details of the Government of Jamaica's public investment projects during implementation and after they would have completed implementation. The information will be contained on the platform for persons to retrieve at any time. This means that every citizen, student, external stakeholder, civil society organization, public official, ministers of government, in fact, everyone who has an interest in government accountability and transparency will have free access to real-time information in an easy, user-friendly format. This initiative would not have become a reality without the involvement and support of some key persons and organizations, and I will just take the time to mention a few this morning. We are grateful for the support provided by our minister, who, the moment he was given the first technical brief on the investment map, saw the value added which it would provide not just to the public investment management system, but to the government of Jamaica's public financial management system reform in general, and very quickly became its most ardent proponent. We thank the Financial Secretary for her leadership and guidance throughout the process, and very importantly, the Ministry of Finance is deeply grateful to the IDB, led by Ms. Therese Turner-Jones, for actively partnering with the government of Jamaica in making the InvestmentMap platform available and for providing the technical support necessary to get us to this point. We thank Francesco and the technical and communication team, and we are so grateful for the support and the guidance you provided throughout the process. To our guest speaker, Juan Pablo, Network Director of GIFT, we thank you for sharing with us your valuable knowledge and insight, and for the recommendations you have made on the steps which can be taken to improve public participation and provide transparency. We look forward to our continued association and for the receipt of your newsletters, which we have found to be so informative. We're grateful to the civil society organizations and representatives of the media for not only being present today, but for providing valuable feedback during the sensitization session, which was held prior to the launch today. To the members of the Strategic Public Sector Transformation and the InvestmentMap project team, led by Program Manager Othniel Hemans, your commitment, dedication, and hard work in pulling out the stops to allow the InvestmentMap to become a reality within the agreed timelines has been more than spectacular. And we thank you so very much. We're grateful to the other members of the supporting cast, the staff of the Public Expenditure Division, who provided invaluable support in populating the project database and for supporting the structure of the platform. The Planning Institute of Jamaica, eGov Jamaica Limited, which is responsible for hosting the platform, site development, and other technical support. The Office of the Chief Information Office in the Ministry of Science, Energy, and Technology, managers of the public investment projects in the various ministries who will have responsibility for updating the information on the platform, the Ministry of Finance, Communications, and Public Relations team, members of the Economic Management Division that facilitated the preparation and signing of the agreement, permanent secretaries, agencies of government. The list is very long and we could go on and on, but without these persons, we would not have been able to get to this point where we have done this successful launch this morning. And last, but by no means, we wish to express our gratitude to the citizens who have joined us for the launch. As you may imagine, we at the Ministry of Finance are very excited at the potential of this tool to significantly enhance the outcomes of our public investment projects and for the possibilities that it presents for us to engage you in meaningful dialogue regarding the implementation of projects, to get your views on what is going right and what is not going right and how else it could be done. We look forward to your participation and indeed the participation of all stakeholders throughout the process of implementation of our public investment projects. We implore you to use the website, to go onto the platform, to make your voices heard. Log on, send us your feedback, and I am committing to you that we will take your feedback into consideration. Thank you so very much and have a very good rest of the day.